Hi, everyone. Welcome to the SOW Summit 2020. And today we're going to be discussing social media marketing and digital sales with two stalwarts from the advertising world. I want to extend a warm welcome to Ketan Desai. Ketan, fondly called KD, has been with Grey since 1999. He's the Chief Operating Officer with the Grey Group. He stands tall as a Grey veteran as he began with Grey Mumbai and has worked with the agency across geographies like Kolkata, Delhi, Colombo, and until lately, Grey Bangladesh. He has worked and built expertise in advertising, shopper marketing, and other allied disciplines. His expertise spans domains and industries like ITC, PNG, Marico, Revlon, Gujarat Ambuja. Thank you for being here, Ketan.
Hi, thank you for having me. Small change to the intro. I now no longer look after only just Delhi, so the roles have changed a little bit. But thank you for having us.
Thank you
He
so
got
much.
promoted. He's now CEO India.
That's great. Congratulations, Ketan. Our second panelist is Mr. Arun Raman. Arun is the Chief Intelligence Officer at the Grey Group. He has rejoined Grey Group from Lowland Tas, where as the Executive Director, he worked across India and Sri Lanka on an array of clients such as Tata Beverages, Unilever, Axis Bank, and Indian Rayon, amongst others. In an extensive career spanning over 23 years, Arun has worked with well-known brand communication companies in India, such as Strawberry Frog, famous, Publicis, Grey, PDB Mura, FCB Ulka, along with extensive consumer management experience internationally. Financial, FMCG, textiles, automobiles, beverages, real estate, telecom, corporate, etc. are few sectors he has worked on. His marketing and strategic development expertise has helped strengthen the equity for brands such as Titan, Raymond, and Mahindra as well. Few. Thank you so much, Arun, for being here as well. Thank you so much. Considering the legacy you both have, I know we're going to have a super interesting session here today. So both of you are from Grey. What are some of the core principles you follow at Grey, and how does it help you with your clients?
Arun, you want to take that?
Okay, Arun, you can go first.
Interesting question. As in core, that's something that we take great pride in with Grey. Globally, we have an internal credo, which is called putting our work should be famously effective. And I'll just take a minute to explain what famously effective means. It's essentially a concept of looking at consumers from two different axes. An axis of culture, the culture in which people are growing and living and enjoying their life, and behavior, which is to the category. And in the intersection of culture and behavior rests an opportunity for the brand to become famously effective. What does famously effective mean? It's not just famous. It's not just famous ads. And it's not just effective. It's got metrics of saying that I want to grow by 2% or 3% or 10%.
Yeah.
Famously effective, it does, if I was to give an example, the most recent phenomenon of famously effective work is Kim Kardashian's bum. Previously, it was never considered, that shape was never ever considered to be feminine. But what happened suddenly? It took popular culture by storm. It resulted in industries of having buttocks injections to enhance your bum. How does it happen? Here is something who is famous and effectively created a whole new pop culture. And if brands start striving towards famously effective, you don't just look at market share, you look at mind share and heart share, which creates a need to own the brand. So it sounds very technical, sounds very jargon, but what it basically means is humanize the problem. Humanize the opportunity. Humanize it not just from mere kapde nahi dhul rahe hain, to humanize the problem to the larger life and culture that women are operating in, whether it be independent women or whether it be homemakers. The most powerful popular culture that's happening right now is this damn pandemic and how things have changed. Now we need to study the culture of how people are coping with the pandemic and bring it to how people are behaving online or offline regarding brands and get the intersection. It's fun. I just made it sound extremely Harvard Business Review, but trust me, it's fine.
So consumer behavior,
Yep.
that
It all-
putting it in.
Yeah, it will always be that, right?
Correct.
We are in the business of changing or
Exactly.
accelerating brands by putting them into culture as our own.
Hmm.
But I just like to add to what Arun had said. The fact is that famously effective is our global credo that we buy from a global perspective. But in India, we found an interesting story that helps us allows us to put our brands in that, and it's called clarity and diversity.
Okay.
This essentially it comes from the fact that uh, there's 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 a lot of media around now, right? With the
Hmm.
proliferation of digital, etc.
Correct.
And the consumer is being talked to or looking at you from different kind of media lenses.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the consumers are consuming information about your brand by different medias. And the one thing that we want to kind of continue to talk about is how we bring clarity to our brands and to our clients
Hmm.
through these medias that exist, right? So
Correct.
what we're saying is that the idea needs to match, the advertising doesn't need to match because of the mediums. So
Hmm.
the way you'll talk to, way I talk to you on Twitter
Hmm.
is very different to the way I talk to you on television, for example,
Correct.
or the way I
You
talk to you on Instagram. I mean, you're kind of using the media to your advantage.
Yep.
correct.
So
So basically,
that's the way we bring famously effective to from an India perspective for sure.
got it. So I think what you're trying to say is that you have different sets of communications on different native platforms. So what could work on a Facebook could not necessarily work on a Twitter or could not work on Instagram.
Correct.
While
Yeah, and we're helping our clients navigate this entire kind of spectrum of media because we don't think all the luggage should match. I mean that's crazy, right? I mean,
correct.
but the idea should match. So
Hmm.
you're decimating the same idea but done very differently across mediums and medias, right? I mean I think that's the way of the future. I don't think we can just take a TVC and make it a bumper on YouTube. I think that's a
Hmm.
massive waste of money and frankly an idea.
Yeah, that's a great thought process. Because I think traditionally what people do is use the same TVC, and it's splattered on YouTube. You see that on Instagram somewhere. You see it on Facebook.
Correct.
So I think that's a great way to kind of diversify because each audience is different. What they're
Yeah,
consuming.
I mean, even if the audience is the same, the way they're consuming information on different medias are changing, right? I mean, on Instagram, you can't do what you normally do on Twitter, for example.
Mm,
That's
yeah,
I think you're wasting a medium if you ask us. So
got it.
that's the point. I think clarity and diversity comes from there,
Okay.
uh, and culture talks about diverse people and diverse needs. In here, diversity is coming from different medias.
Yes. Okay, fabulous. If we continue talking about Grey, Ketan, and Arun, tell us a little about what other companies do you serve and in what industries or markets are they in?
I mean, we pretty much have. We're a big office. We pretty much serve most kind of uh, companies or brands that they're there. But some of the big ones that we do have is Britannia, Titan out of our Bangalore office.
Okay.
Bombay is we handle a large portfolio of the of the Procter business, which is
Okay.
Gillette, Venus, Pantene.
Mhm.
Uh, Raymond's is a very, very big client for us out of Bombay.
Okay.
Uh, and most of these businesses that I'm talking to you about are cross-functional. By that I mean uh, we we manage the entire digital plus the traditional advertising together. And again, what we're trying to do is blur the lines between all of these with people and the way we go and offer it to the clients. Out of our Delhi office, we have Volvo,
Okay.
and a large part of our portfolio of the GSK business,
Mhm.
which is Sensodyne, Eno,
Okay.
Octavin, and Crocin.
Okay.
And there are a whole host of other clients like HP, for example. Uh, we do work for Oppo as well.
Mhm.
Campaign that's on air with Dhoni is ours.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a big range of clients that
Plans.
and services that we kind of offer to each one.
Correct. Anything else to add? Do you want to add on to
Uh,
anything?
we handle a lot. We handle, for example, what Ketan spoke was doing the mass media advertising and the digital advertising business. We also do a whole host of data analytics, which is a very, very core pillar for us. We are
Okay.
probably the only communication agency in the country which has in-house data analytics capabilities. We have 100 analysts sitting
Wow.
inside. We have a pretty large data center. We handle command centers for the entire PepsiCo for
That's
all the
amazing.
brands. That includes data management, online reputation management, social listening. So that's a whole suite we offer. We do an integrated approach of data, which is social advertising and mass media advertising for almost all the brands that Ketan spoke about. Be it the Raymond Group, which has got 4 brands: Raymond, Color Plus, Park Avenue, Parks. Be it P&G, which is Venus, Gillette, Pantene. Gillette is a prime example of how do you do content rather than ads. So for the last 3 years, with the last 1.5 years with the Shaving Stereotypes platform, we have gone about reshaping culture only on the digital media. We hardly advertise on the mass media for brand Gillette. Yes, for product advertising, we do take the relevant mass media that's relevant. Britannia, we do pure play advertising. There are new ventures from the Titan Group, which will be, I can't say what it will be, but it will be something you put on your wrist, because what else will they do, right? Which is a device, and it is going to be building a community on. It's not, but all these, the elements are the same, the principles are the same, how comms build brands, and what the principles of comms remains the same. And the other thing I want to add is that some of the brands that we have are as old as us. Just want to let you know that we are 102 years old as a company globally. India, we're 48 years old. But we call ourselves a 100-year-old startup. That's the only way to stay relevant, ready, and responsible. And our clients, Raymond is 98 years old. GSK brand Crocin is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's about a 85-year-old brand, if I'm not mistaken, about Crocin, which is a paracetamol product. So the task, Britannia is 105 years old. So what we realize is it's not the legacy of the brand, it's the vision of the modern day marketer. And we are tailoring ourselves to address the vision of the modern day marketer, because the needs have changed, the media has changed, from an era of scarcity, which is what India was, since these brands came into the market, we are now in an era of plenty. So options have changed. And we need to be cognizant of that. There is no one rule that one needs to follow. So we have to be rule breakers, and that's what we take pride in.
That's great. I think, Arun, when you were talking, something came out when you spoke about comms, right? I wanted to ask you, is storytelling still the king? Between both of you?
Yeah. There is human beings are wired. It's human. We are not AI. We are not bots. We are people. What keeps our attention is stories, our stories. You have to understand that. Let's take media. People say medium is the message. Why do people, and cinema is a medium, TV is a medium, Facebook is a medium, so on and so forth. People are in media only for 2 things, either entertainment or news. Brands have no business to be in media if they are either not entertaining or don't have a new news. So at the end of the day, both these are stories. Entertainment is about stories, and news is a story. A new story has come in. So storytelling is what drives, that's what separates human beings away from my pet dog at home. My dog doesn't need a story. What he needs is an expression of love and care. That's enough for the dog. But human beings, love of expression and care is insufficient. We love stories. We love telling stories. We love hearing stories. We love creating stories. That's called fake news, but still.
Good one. Correct.
But stories. Look at it from our culture point of view, right? And we keep talking about culture. India has always been about storytelling. I mean, do you look at the way our scriptures are done, right? They're all told in ways of stories. If you go beyond the cities, stories are still told around around a tree.
Tree, correct.
Yeah, and the fact is that when Instagram branded one of their products, it was called Insta Story, right? It wasn't called Insta Content. So think about it. I mean, even sports, for example, is a story, right? You always remember these great moments in sport. Not every single match or whatever, but you'll remember some parts of a match which told you a story. Either it told you a story about coming back from behind, or it was a story about somebody persevering through injury. These are things that stick in our head, right? I mean, I think we are wired to understand stories much better, and brands that tell great stories always, I think, win.
If I had to ask you, if there was one that either you have worked on or somebody that you see that you think is doing a great job at storytelling, is there anybody that comes to mind? Can you give me a name?
Yeah, I mean, look at the work that we are doing on Gillette at the moment. I mean, not just, I mean, in India, there's some fabulous stories that we've been talking about. It starts with the Barber Girls. It talks about, there's another one about men not crying. It's about an army officer. It's the story that Gillette spoke about in the US about the best you can be, right? It was a change in the way, I mean, Gillette advertised with, from a macho brand to a brand that has a point of view on what a man should be today. And, if you look at the kind of numbers that those stories generate, the effectiveness of that is just through the roof, right? I think going back to your previous question, I mean, and therefore stories stick, right? But you got to find the right, the thing is, a lot of brands tell stories, right? The problem is that they need to be connected to who you are as a brand, right? And those stories need to be real, and the stories need to be they can't be just stories for the sake of stories. That it needs to strike chords somewhere, right? And if you find the intersection between what the product does and what the brand stands for, and then weave the story around it, that's cool. That's really, really cool, right? I mean, that's something that is amazing. So I think storytelling has always been in our culture. I think storytelling is something that brands will always aspire to do. It could be through a Instagram image, or it could be through a Twitter, but it's still a story. When you think about it, from that. So that's
the good thing. I think what you said, Ketan, is that we are wired to be about stories, and some of our best work has been storytelling. But you got to understand that story doesn't mean only making people cry. It can be a funny story. It can be a shocking story, because people tend to. I would rather tell you a story when we're having a cup of coffee, right? Rather than say, this brand is great. So stories allow virality. Stories allow conversations. Stories are passed on. And if a brand message can be in a beautiful storytelling format, which allows consumers to hold that. Look at the Ramayana. You spoke about the scriptures. Look at the Ramayana. Look at the Mahabharata. Nobody read the book till Valmiki wrote it. But the story of the king precedes the writing of that story. And it transmits through temple architecture, through songs, dance forms. Stories travel. Of a king in Ayodhya, that story traveled everywhere. Because people transmitted stories. And our job is to create those stories which are transmittable. Today it's called viral. Wrong word to use during the pandemic. Nobody should use the word viral. But hey, it has to be transmittable. It has to be conversed about. And that's what storytelling does. And Indians are very good at storytelling.
I think that's a great point. I do agree. Indians, that's in our culture. Storytelling is really important to us. Arun, Ketan, I don't think we can, kind of have a session where we don't talk about COVID and we don't talk about pandemic and the kind of effect it has had on businesses, whether it's your business or your client's business. So traditionally, most brands used to look at advertising as TVCs, right? TVCs, hoardings were your traditional forms of advertising. Today, a lot of their budgets are going to digital because they kind of realize that if they don't pivot towards digital, you're losing out on a lot of audience that is not, going out or stepping out. Everybody in my generation, we don't even watch TV anymore. We're only on our phones or we're on Netflix. I don't remember the last time I had a conversation with my friend about a TV show. So what do you think about this pivot onto digital? How do you think it affected y'all, the way y'all think, the way y'all do business? And what is your take on that?
I
It's
mean,
become more complex. It's become more complex.
no, I mean, yeah, look, I mean, sometimes necessity becomes the mother of invention, right? So it's not like clients didn't think digital was important, right?
Correct.
But it just skewed them. It skewed media budgets because you were not stepping out, right? Or newspapers are not coming home, or you were not being able to shoot new films at that point of time, if that was the case. And surely shopping habits have changed. The way we kind of gather information about brands have changed. So absolutely, a lot of things have changed. A lot of kind of more more open to using digital as a medium, lead and support medium has happened. Brands.
Okay.
And that's great, right? I mean, because you at the end of the day, you want to reach a consumer. How you reach it is immaterial, right? So calling digital or not digital is not important. But I think it's accelerated. The clients need to see their brands in the digital world. I mean, that's what my point has been about.
Okay. Arun, anything?
It would have happened. It just happened quicker.
Got it.
Yeah. The move was evident. Like you said, your generation hardly watches the television.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're watching it on another screen.
Interesting take.
Television is a device, and the television media industry might be going through a churn. I don't think communication is going through a churn. All we are doing is repurposing. The last 5 movies have been released on the OTT platforms. I'm watching it on my iPad. I'm not watching it in PVR.
Correct.
My need for content hasn't changed. The PVR business model has to go through a churn rapidly.
Correct.
The television industry's business model has to go through a transition rapidly.
Yeah.
But pandemic is a once in a lifetime. It's never happened. I don't think there's a person alive who remembers something like this have happened in his lifetime.
Across the globe. Yeah, across the
world.
In
his lifetime.
Yeah.
Now look at what happened in World War I. That kind of unified Europe and US into one common purpose, and it brought the world to a standstill in some form. That was the beginning of radio.
Correct.
Because radio became from a medium of communicating to people what the government is saying, to a form of entertainment for the soldiers in the trenches, to it became a medium in its true sense. That didn't mean that print died.
Correct.
As literacy levels went up, print reading went up. Then people said, TV has come, print will die.
Correct. It hasn't. Yeah.
Digital has come, TV will die is not happening because digital is taking the premise of the television form, which is audio, visual, and emotions and storytelling, and transferring it to another screen. So the medium hasn't changed of communication. What has changed the business model of the TV industry? And they're already showing it. You're seeing every large entertainment channel in this country also has an app. Call it
an OTT
Star
platform.
Star, Sony Live. Okay, why? Because they realize that the future is watching it sans appointment viewing and in terms of personal devices. That's all that has changed. But what it has added is complexity to the marketer. Because TV allows you reach. This allows you interaction and engagement. And it's not either or. So the number of columns in the media plan has increased. It's made complex. And that's what Ketan was saying, that we need to bring clarity in this complexity. There are too many options, are all needed. The most abused term in the advertising industry has been this con job called 360 degrees. You don't need 360, you just need the right 36. It's clarity, it's strategic. And if you bring that, I don't think clients and agencies will really have to repurpose ourselves in a very large manner. Yes, we have to reshape our outlook in terms of what is needed, but not any skill sets, because it's still the same principles.
Correct. I like what you said. Usually when clients everything's about 360, right? We're going to give you this, we're going to give you that, we're going to give you this. But I like the fact that you said you have to go lean. Maybe everything is not right for a particular client.
And see, to do a 360, you need an infinite budget. Nothing is
cheap.
So
Correct.
let's be conscious of that.
Correct. Arun, you spoke about budgets. Great question. Now, Gray, with the clients that come to you, obviously tend to be MNCs, tend to be, bigger clients who have some sort of budgets and spends. What happens to startups now for people or for small, small companies that come in, or startups who probably don't have that kind of budget? What do they do on social media? How do they get their clients interested on digital? And how do they beat somebody, who is the P&G levels, or somebody who's massive in the MNC space with, a lot of budgets?
We have just signed up, and I think it will be official next week, because the signed up, as in it's on email, is not on the legal contract. It will be official next week. We have signed up a startup, and a startup doesn't mean lack of budgets. In fact, we have come to the conclusion that a startup mentality has such, and startup is a mentality. Startup is not a size of business, not SMEs, MSCs. Startup is a mindset, it's an attitude. A startup always has a larger ambition than the traditional incumbent. Most startups have big, hairy, audacious goals in terms of what we want to achieve and what we want to change, and so on and so forth. In fact, the new startup will probably be spending far more than a few of our established clients put together, because that is their ambition. That's their change. And it's a startup in the digital arena. It's not even a startup in the delivery arena like the Swiggies of the world. It's a pure play digital offering. And it's a mindset. See, the best of work in the world and the best of the worst of work in the world from our industry is a function of the appetite of a client. And startups have appetites. They have this appetite to do better, to not just survive, not just gain incremental market share, what we call the Hindu growth rate, but it's actually about achieving further. Am I right, Ketan, that the ambition is actually scaring us, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think all, like to Arun's point, I think all startups have this big, hairy, audacious goals, right? And it's great. I mean, because they're trying to do the same thing or same thing differently. What does I'm making it up as I go along, but what does an FMCG startup on a digital space have that their predecessors didn't, right? They don't have to invest money in distribution, right? That's a large part of a brand's cost. Right? It can all be sold online, and it can all be sold to and very targeted to the people they think are willing to buy the product. I mean, it's as simple as that, right? I mean, so what have they taken away? They've taken away all those billions of dollars that big FMCG companies have spent in R&D, etc., and in distribution and creating big distribution. And they've said, forget it. I'm not going to be sold physically. I'm going to be sold only online. Yeah, and I'm going to be able to target my customer by his or her actual needs, and at that point of time. So look, I think it has democratized marketing and marketing spends a lot. It has. There's some amazing examples of brands that have taken on big kind of clients and beaten them, if you ask me, right? But I think again, to Arun's point, I mean, the rules of marketing or advertising don't change. You need to have a product that somebody wants, right, at the end of the day.
Correct.
Or has a value that a consumer
somebody wants, a consumer needs.
So,
correct.
I mean, there are lots of startups that fail as well, right? Because it's too much of the sameness that might be.
Yeah, and there are more that fail than succeed.
Yeah.
So we also learned something from these startups, and you got to put it on the table. The bravery of startup founders, because they don't come from a legacy of I already have 25 crores in my pocket and let me go try something. It starts with the elevator pitch, as it's called. Like you're going and seeking. What we learn is a full form of ROI. Previously, in the traditional way, it was return on investment. Jitne paise hain, if I put 100, do I get 1,000 back?
1,000 back, yeah.
The bravery is teaching us it's return on ideas.
Okay.
So what is the startup idea and what's the return? And hence, you find of late, there are far memorable and lovable and sticky comms happening from the startup territory rather than from the traditional territory. Why? Because startups by nature are wired to um, their entity is shaped by an idea. Their belief is that this idea will change the way the world is. And they believe that for this idea to be seen by people, I need a massive idea. So, in terms of creative idea. So, I genuinely think that us old geeks, these old Greeks like us, or pontificating about insights and cultures can learn a lot from these young geeks because they come with ideas. And it's a beautiful confluence of clients are leading idea generation, which is what the startup entity does. And that should be preserved, that should be nurtured. We don't need a white-haired consultant coming and telling them, go slow. That's not the way to build the business because that white-haired consultant has done the traditional work.
Correct.
This is the modern economy, modern ecology, and we need to nourish it. We need to preserve it.
Correct. And there is innovation and risk also, right? There's also a huge risk factor in this, but I think that's what makes it exciting for entrepreneurs. There's a certain madness that you need to have to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Absolutely. I mean, risk is, we all take risk. I mean, you know, even if a client takes risk by appointing an agency, for example. It takes a risk by putting out a piece of communication out there. Right? There's no guarantee that everything will be just fine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and the fact is that I mean, I don't want to name the brand or whatever. That, you know, something that just got put out of air recently, right?
Yeah.
It was a risk. I'm pretty sure the client knew about it. But the fact is that you know, everything is a risk. You just have to you know, be cognizant of what those risks are and be able to solve those problems going forward.
Everything is safe if you don't make a decision. Everything is risky if you decide.
Like that.
Yeah.
So risk is there everywhere.
Correct. Really glad. Okay, when we come to talk about customer acquisition, right? So in terms of customer acquisition, the cost seems to be rising through the years for different audiences. How can one minimize the cost? Is that something you can do? Is that something you can't do? Thoughts?
I mean, I think every brand's effort is to reduce cost of acquisition. Yeah, and again, I think brands that find share of heart, as Arun was speaking about, the cost of acquisition goes down. Okay, and that really is what it is. I love a particular brand of car, and I go and buy it. Yeah, irrespective of how much more advertising you're going to put on it. Right? I buy the brand because I totally believe in what it does, right? And therefore, my cost of acquiring me is less.
Much lesser, yeah.
Yeah. So again, I think it's about brands that find a small spot in somebody's mind and heart that
resonates with that particular person.
The other thing which is normal in our, and I like what you just said about share of heart, Ketan, and this brand of car, which you always wanted to have. So whether they advertise, don't advertise, you'll still buy that car. That's a beautiful analogy. Because acquisition in an era of plenty is shift. So I was considering brand A. I should now buy you instead of consider him. That means you have to constantly talk to me. Basically, what the cost of acquisition becomes minimum if you are distinct. It's quite high if you got the same benefit and the same imagery and the same offering, just like the brand I was previously considering. That means you have to speak more often to me and in every place for me to say, consider me. But if you come across as being distinct, either as a truth or as a brand truth or as a story, you have to talk to me only once. So I think it goes back to innovation. If you innovate, your cost of acquisition is down. If you're parity, similar products, talking to similar people, available at similar places, similar. So the consumer takes longer to choose you. Because what's the difference? And he or she will say, talk to me more, convince. You are increasing your investment rather than acquiring. So go innovation. Your cost of acquisition is lower.
I like that. So correct. So you're spending more time kind of trying to reiterate your same point again and again.
Which is not distinct.
Which is not distinct. Yeah, I really like that. Correct. Great. So before we conclude the session, I want to ask you all that we spoke about, as Arun, you said that, Ketan, you all said that you have a startup, who's coming on board, and that has a budget. But what if somebody is watching this session, somebody who is an entrepreneur or who's just startup, has a very lean budget and still wants to do something on social media? What does that person do? Can you give me some thoughts as to how does that person kind of try to make some sort of mark on social media or digital without, say, like a budget that they can have an agency on board?
I mean, look, there's always a cost to running a brand. Okay, so there's no running away from that. Okay? People are not just going to flock to you because you have something. Right?
Correct.
You will need to put it out. Okay. So, and therefore, I think for a startup that might not have the kind of budgets that you were mentioning, for example, needs to be aware and cognizant of what he or she can achieve with the budgets that they're sitting in. Right.
Okay.
Just because there's digital, that doesn't mean that you would put it out and everybody will come running to you. Right. There is there's a cost of business.
Business, correct.
And that's a reality, right? Because again, you've got many devices, you see many things on different platforms. Everybody's buying for your share of wallet. But I think brand, clients, startups do well on a couple of things. One is they're cognizant of how much they can achieve with what they have, right? Do they have an innovative product, and therefore cost of acquisition becomes lesser, like I've spoken about.
Correct.
And don't spread the net too wide. I think city by city. I mean, digital allows you to do that. So need be, right? Or zone by zone. I mean, make things, but it allows you to kind of concentrate, focus, and recraft a media plan, for example, for what your brand wants or can afford, or where is doing well.
Got it. Arun, what about you? What are your thoughts?
Completely agree with Ketan. That's the way to do it. Whatever be the size of your ambition, the media should not be deciding what the brand is. Get your ambition right, get your brand vision right, as in the articulation of the brand. The most famous brand in the world, Nike or Apple. Let's take Nike. Everyone understands Nike. The core of the brand is encouraging the athlete inside you. The advertising is just do it.
Just do it. Correct.
Now, just do it need not be only on TV with Pete Sampras. But you have to get that first and then do an Instagram strategy or a Twitter strategy but at least get this bit right. Don't ignore this, because that is investment. While media might be a cost, getting a brand definition right and uniquely, distinctly is an investment which will last with the brand for whether you go zone by zone, region by region, person to person, home to home. That is the string which holds it together. I completely agree. You don't with Ketan. You don't have to look at India as one market. Those days are gone. India is now a mass of niche.
You can't.
The mass of niche is gold. One niche at a time. You'll achieve your objectives.
Amazing. I love that. I also, what resonated, what y'all were talking about was consumer research, right? Knowing your consumers and knowing that really well. How important do you think is consumer research when it comes to brands, either when they're launching or when it comes to their strategy? How important it is to know your consumer? Because at the end of the day, that's the person who's purchasing it, right? And do you think brands do it often?
Ketan, we have to be polite now. Ketan, come on.
Yeah, look, let's not call it consumer research. I think that's a. I mean, I don't know what that means. I mean, consumer research could be anything, right? Know your consumer, like you mentioned. That's everything that there is, right? Who do you want to sell to, and what are the triggers that he or she kind of gets excited, or some amount of emotion that it triggers in your consumer. I mean, so there's no running away from not knowing your consumer. I mean, that's absolutely the building blocks of any strategy. I mean, there's either for a brand innovation or a comms innovation or whatever. I mean, if you don't know who your consumer is, then there's no starting point.
Exactly.
Honestly, I mean, then you're just carpet bombing. I mean, I just can't say I'm for everybody. That doesn't work.
Doesn't work. Arun, your thoughts?
I'm not going to be as polite as Ketan. Okay.
Go on.
See, what's happened is Indians also pronounce the word wrong. We say research. It's almost as if it's redoing something. Research is one word. Research is the beginning. So look at pharmaceutical industry. Look at Albert Einstein. Research was the beginning, which comes to a discovery. It should stop at discovery. It cannot be used to validate decisions. Once you know about the consumer, discovery bit, you decide. I mean, decide maybe if you're going to further research,
Correct.
you're searching your instinct, your gut, not the consumer. So there is not consumer research. There is human understanding, discovery.
Got it.
Your decision. Now, if you're researching your decision, not the human being out there sitting poor thing, having samosa and telling you that this ad doesn't work. Nahi hota yaar. So don't validate your decisions. Don't research. Just search and move on with life.
I like that. Thank you so much, Ketan and Arun. It's been such a fantastic session. I've learned a lot, so I'm sure everybody who's tuning in, they're going to learn a lot. I think we've had some great takeaways from the session today. And I'm sure everybody feels the same way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
I hope you all had a good time.
We did.
Oh, we had fun. Everyone stay safe.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
when you got Arun to wear a shirt, that's a big thing.
Yeah, I wore a shirt today. Can you imagine?
You're looking great.
That's for you guys.
You're looking fabulous. Thank you
All
so
right, thank
much.
you.
I've had a great session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.